Hey everybody, it's Father Josh with another road trip pilgrimage. Today we're heading up to Berlin, New Hampshire to visit St. Anne's Church at Good Shepherd Parish. Come on, let's go. Watch out on the road, people. I can't believe this. I can't believe we found it. The last phone booth in the state. Now that's a road trip. I'm told this is a really, really pretty drive. We're gonna be going right by, I think it's the Pinkham Notch. We're gonna be going right by Mount Washington, so I can't wait to see what's on this road here. So we're heading up to Berlin, New Hampshire. Now I'm told it's really important. It's Berlin, it's not Berlin. Berlin is this town in New Hampshire, not affiliated with the German town of Berlin at all. Oh, nice, we got this nice clear view of Mount Washington today. That's her. I think that's St. Anne. I think we're getting there. I think we're almost there. So here's St. Anne's Church. So it was a beautiful drive through the mountains to get up here. Here we are, about to walk into St. Anne's. Let's see what it looks like. Come on in. Just walking into this church for the first time, it just absolutely takes your breath away. Like, the first thing you say is, like, how are we gonna get all this on a video? It's just such an incredible church. You gotta see this. Since this is the Church of St. Anne's, there are a number of images and even a relic of St. Anne in this church. St. Anne was the mother of the Blessed Virgin Mary, honored for a long time then as the grandmother of Jesus. If you remember when we visited St. Patrick's in Hampton Beach, we noticed there were stained glass windows that had the four evangelists. Well, this church, it also has the four evangelists, but there are these massive plaques, these massive, almost sculptures up on the ceiling of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Tremendous, just absolutely gorgeous. So every altar in a Catholic church represents the tomb of Christ. And this is just the most beautiful depiction of that I think I've ever seen. You know, it's not only that the tomb is, the altar is shaped like a tomb, but here we actually see the body of Christ being laid in the tomb. It's absolutely beautiful. So many of the designs in this church are meant to kind of evoke the feeling of life. You have all these angels, but you also have all these like roses and flowers and greenery and trees and leafiness, all these ideas of drawing closer to the God of life. The closer you get to heaven, the more life there is. So all of these images are meant to evoke like this sense of growth and life and the abundance of God. So we're here with Deacon Mitch. Deacon Mitch has been a deacon for 7 years now.
7 years.
7 years. Assigned this whole time here to Good Shepherd and Holy Family parishes.
Yes.
And we ask him, you know, we come to this church. I mean, there's so much everywhere. There's so much to look at. Is there something what's something that's particularly beautiful and that strikes you?
Well, one of the things that just happened recently is sitting there, and I've been here serving all these 7 years.
Yeah.
It's sitting and taking everything in and looking at the statue over there of St. Anne and Mother Mary being held by her mother. And I look at it, just when I was looking at it, she's looking at me. I honestly felt like she's tugging on her mother St. Anne's veil and saying, Mommy, that's my deacon over there.
And isn't that that's a great thing about all this sacred art? Like, it speaks to us over time, or it catches us in a certain way at a certain time. It gives us what we need in that moment.
And I think it just reminded me of the humanity of the saints that came before. We just did the St. Vincent de Paul nursing home for preaching. And I brought that up to him. I says, we look at the saints as somebody otherworldly, like an angel. And I said, they're like you and I. They're human, except they got up. Every time they fell down, they got up and repented, and they got back up.
That's great.
And they kept getting back up.
Excellent.
And they had a lot of joy.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're here with Father Kyle Stanton, who's the pastor here at Good Shepherd Parish and Holy Family Parish over in Gorham, and the pastor of this beautiful church. So thank you so much for sitting down with us. Thank you for letting us come and do this today.
Yeah, it's great to have you here, Father Josh, and have you back to St. Anne's Church here in Berlin.
Yeah, it's great to come visit again. So it's such a big and beautiful church. Can you tell us briefly, just how did this all come to be?
Yeah, people are always surprised when they come to Berlin, New Hampshire, and they drive, a few hours up from southern New Hampshire or part of New England. They find this beautiful brick, large church here, and the history really is interesting. It started out as a small mission to All Saints Parish in Lancaster, and in about 1890 or so, they started a mission here of St. Anne's Church for the small Catholic population in Berlin, and then it grew suddenly, the population, as French Canadians came down from Canada, really in droves, to work in the logging industry and in the paper mills, and Berlin was just growing rapidly as a city. So suddenly there was an influx of Catholics here, and the small church wasn't large enough for it, so they made it a parish, and then the people began to build this church, and a cornerstone was set in the year 1900. And the church was not complete until about 1909, and when the bishop came up and said the official Mass. But in the meantime, they were building it, and they were still having Mass here until its construction was done. So it took about 9 years.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And it's a tribute to the faith of all those people and the hard work to be able to decide to build something like this.
Absolutely, and really a response to the diocese to recognize that the economy was growing in Berlin, families were moving in, Catholics were moving in, and the diocese wanted to provide. So they made a parish and began construction on this magnificent church.
Now, I remember there's so much fine detail, like every kind of space is covered in stuff. And I remember how many, there's like an insane amount of angels in this church, right?
Yeah, the story goes that perhaps sometime in the 80s or 90s or some point in the last 20, 30 years, someone came in and they laid on their back for days and counted all the angels. So it's myth, but it seems to be true. And the word has been passed down that there are over 300 angels.
With 300 different, to put that time and care into the church, it's just a beautiful thing to think about.
Absolutely. And the angels are really supposed to be representative that at Mass, we come here, but heaven descends.
Yeah.
And so when you look up at this ceiling, you see heaven descending. And
we're reminded that we're not here on our own. We're surrounded by the host of angels.
Right.
What can you say, what is the significance of sacred art to you? Why is it important to have a beautiful church?
I think it's important, and certainly was believed to be important when they built St. Anne's Church, because the world around us is so distracting, and it really, the issues we face in the world tend to keep our minds and our thoughts here. We're consumed by what's going on at work, in the family, in society, in our neighborhoods, and it can really keep us from contemplating God. But when you come into a church that has sacred art and stained glass windows and beauty, and the things that St. Anne's has, you're immediately lifted up. You're immediately lifted up from the cares of the world and your family and work and this and that, and you can encounter God.
You almost leave earth and step into heaven. I mean,
Really?
that's the feeling you have when you just walk in here. It's like, okay, like I'm entering into heaven right now.
Absolutely.
It's a beautiful thing to think. And it is such a prayerful spot. Like, it almost feels wrong to be speaking so loudly in here because of how prayerful this is.
I was about to correct you. No, it's true. You can feel the generations of prayer in here. And if you look at the pews, this church was built just to house pews and get people in to pray.
Yeah.
There's not a big gathering space. It's all pews.
Yeah.
And just designed to get people in to pray.
Let's get everybody together to pray together. Yeah. Now, if you had to pick out, like, what's an element in here that's maybe unusual or a particular favorite piece of yours? Is there something, or is that too big of a question?
There's a lot of pieces in here,
Yeah.
and certainly for our diocese, I don't know of many churches that have a plaster ceiling that is this large, this grand, this detailed. So, of course, the ceiling. But there are a few pieces that really catch me every time. Mainly our side altars, where on one we have the Assumption of Mary, and it's popping out. The plaster is really has a lot of dimension to it, and the angels lifting Mary up to the Holy Trinity. And it's just not often you see the Assumption of Mary depicted. But I think even rarer than that, in which I always love to show people, on the other side altar, St. Joseph's side altar, there is a beautiful mural of the betrothal of Mary and Joseph.
It's not something we think about a whole lot.
No.
We're told right away that they were betrothed already.
Yeah.
You don't think about what that was.
Yeah, and so they have Joseph and Mary before the altar. And of course, the priest, the high priest, is offering the sacrifice of thanksgiving of their betrothal. So that's really beautiful and really rare, and I like to point it out. And I'll often do blessings of marriages in front of that altar.
Oh, yeah.
For 25th anniversary, 50th anniversary.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, newlyweds,
Yeah.
engaged. We'll bless them there in front of that altar and highlight that.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So if anyone's coming up who's engaged and wants some prayers, I'll happily meet them by the altar.
Yeah, that's a great spot to
Give them a blessing for their marriage.
Yeah, and that's what a great reminder is that to everybody who's getting ready to get married or celebrating a marriage anniversary. Like, yeah, you're doing this in the model of Mary and Joseph.
Absolutely. Yep. Well, St. Anne's Church is named after St. Anne, the grandmother of Jesus. People don't always know that Mary's mother and father are known to us, Anne and Joachim, and so this is Grandma's house, as we call it. And we do have a relic of St. Anne here, which we keep in the church and can bring out for special occasions. Like today is actually the feast day of St. Anne and Joachim, so a chance to venerate the relic of St. Anne and ask her intercession. Especially, right now you can't go up to St. Anne de Beaupré and go back, so we do have St. Anne's Church here with the relic of St. Anne that people can come and pray.
And there's such a big devotion to St. Anne.
Yeah, I think the devotion to St. Anne is strongly a French-Canadian devotion, and I'm sure others in Europe have that devotion as well. I never really knew of the devotion until I came here and discovered more about St. Anne and St. Joachim, and certainly now have a large devotion and call upon St. Anne a lot. Especially, it's not easy to maintain a church of this size with art and plaster of this nature, so you have to ask good St. Anne to help provide.
So what are some of the challenges to being, I guess, the steward of all this?
Well, I grew up in southern New Hampshire, and up here in Berlin, the winter's longer by 1 month on each end. So when I hear pastors downstate talking about their heating bill, we turn the heat on October 1st, and we're heating through the end of May mostly. And so just heating this place and keeping it warm for our parishioners to come to worship, it's a challenge, Outside, the brickwork is encountering the elements of winter, and just inside to paint this magnificent church, which it needs to be painted. It hasn't been painted since about 1980s. So just in this day and age, arranging to repaint the church again, it's time. So we have a lot of challenges because everything in St. Anne's is large. So if you do it, it's going to cost you. Our organ, which is original and was made for this church, has over 1,500 pipes.
Wow.
And a few years ago, we took quite a few of them out, shipped them down, had them cleaned, had them tuned, and there's some leather components to the organ that hadn't been changed since 1950, and we changed those out. But costs a lot of money. So anything at St. Anne's that has to be worked on is costly, but it's worth it. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So what can you tell us about the parish community that's here right now?
It's a really wonderful community. This parish of Good Shepherd has existed for 21 years now after they merged 4 into 1. But it really has changed a lot and grown a lot, where we are now caring for people who drive in from quite a distance. We have parishioners who drive 45 minutes to be part of our parish. We have parishioners who drive 1 hour and 20 minutes to join us for Sunday Mass. And they're looking for the beautiful liturgies we have. They're looking for the sacred space. And they're looking to be a part of this parish, which is growing in the sense of family life, especially since we have a parish school, family life. So for me, it's interesting to speak about our history, the people that built this parish who lived very locally, but now this parish is also welcoming people who are driving quite a distance to be part of it and to worship God here at a Holy Mass in a Holy Church.
That's such an important thing to point out. Yeah, it's not just about the past or the history, it's about what's going on now, what's moving forward. This continues to be an active, growing parish community, which is a beautiful thing to see.
Absolutely, it's serving people in quite a wide range now.
So if somebody was going to come to visit, what would you like them to know? The church is open for visitors during the day?
Yeah, open daily, and we have daily Mass in the morning and weekend Masses, and be happy to show them around or answer their questions and let them see the relic of St. Anne, and just have a quiet moment of prayer in here.
Well, great. Well, thanks so much for having us and taking the time to sit down with us and talk about this. And what a wonderful church, and thanks for all that you do.
Absolutely. Thank you, Father Josh. It's great to have you up, and glad to have you as a neighbor down North Conway.
So we just finished up. We're just leaving St. Anne's Church now. Oh man, I mean, one of the first things you notice, you get up there, you're on kind of a busy street, there's cars going by, it's noisy, you open these big heavy wood doors and you go in and the door shuts behind you and you're just wrapped up in silence and in this incredible, beautiful space. I mean, this is exactly what we were talking about when we said we're going to go look for hidden gems around New Hampshire. It's a long drive to get up here, but what a payoff. What an incredibly beautiful church. Every aspect of the church, there's just something to look at everywhere, something to draw you deeper into the mystery of the faith, something to help you reflect on your faith. It's just a beautiful place. What a wonderful place to go and pray. Yeah, absolutely. What a gorgeous spot, St. Anne's Church. Thanks so much for joining us on this road trip up to Berlin, New Hampshire to St. Anne's Church. Hope you're enjoying these videos. Please do like and share them if you found them useful. If you think there's somebody who might enjoy a trip to St. Anne's, share this video with them. And I've enjoyed reading all your comments. Please keep those coming in. Let us know other places to go and visit. Yeah, thanks so much. God bless everybody.